Hi, and welcome to another episode of Mr. Bench's Book Reviews. What's in the box today? It is... oh wow. It is Usborne, Lift the Flap, Questions and Answers About Nature. Well, let's see. This is not a storybook so much as a book with questions and answers about nature, it would appear. It's written by Daynes, illustrated by Marie-Eve Tremblay, and designed by Jodie Smith, so let's see how good a job they've done. It says there are over 60 flaps, this caterpillar suggests there are over 60 flaps to lift, so we'll see how far through that 60 we get before I stop. Let's see, on the front cover we have how, why, where, what, who and which, so all different kinds of questions which will presumably have different kinds of answers. So it says which page one, no wait a minute, oh I see, that's the contents, okay, right, so which page one, yeah, isn't the first question. That's saying that, okay, so they've sorted even the chapters by which kinds of questions and presumably which kinds of answers. So let's go to page one then. Which creatures live in rock pools? Well, there's some seagulls sitting near the rock pool, and then you see you have this flap you can lift. That's quite good because you can do it like a quiz, right? You can kind of test yourself. It doesn't just write the answer straight away. You have to lift the flap and play along at home if you like. The answers are crabs, fish, starfish, plant-like animals called anemones, shrimp and shellfish. And there they're pictured. That's quite nice. Yes. Other questions? So it's not the seagulls, I guess they visit the rock pools. That's like a clue, because they probably eat, I guess, those animals that are in the rock pools. Even this guy's even nibbling around looking at things. We have some other witches. Which animals left these behind? There's a nut, so I guess that'll be a squirrel. And although a squirrel would normally take a nut with him. So let's see. It is, no, it's a mouse. And he's eating the nut inside. Oh, that's the outside of the nut. So he's left behind the hollowed out shell of the nut, and he's eating the actual nut bit of the nut. And I guess these footprints have been left behind by some sort of bear, have they? Oh, yes, a bear. That's quite nice. It's quite cool the way you lift the flap and then both under the flap and also the back of the flap itself combined to make a picture. That's quite clever. Very good. A bear. This is quite dynamic, this book. And then on this tree, written sideways, it says, which trees grow the tallest? Is this conifers, maybe? Or it might be more specific than that. Let's see. Oh, and that's even cool, so that you lift the flap and it even makes the tree double in size. Pretty smart. Well, I know who designed it. Redwood trees, so it doesn't just say conifers. They can grow taller than a building with 25 floors. That's over 100 meters or 330 feet high. Oh, very good. I mean, this one isn't quite so big, but this one here goes almost right to the top of the flap. Then it says there are lots of clues in nature. See what you can find next time you're outside. So that's not a question. Then there's a flap here that doesn't really have a question on it. It's just a branch, and it just says sheep. All right. Oh, sorry, that's part of which animals left these behind. There's a bit of some strands of wool on this branch, so I guess a sheep has wandered past there. But the sheep here is saying, don't worry, I've got plenty more wool. So that's nice, in case you're going to panic about the sheep getting cold. Which plants are these from? I see, and then you've got children studying them, looking in books to find out where their leaves come from. So this one's got a cone, so that'll be from a fir tree or something. Got a little red petal from a flower, probably from a, not even sure what that's called. And this, she's got maybe a sycamore or something. An oak tree. It's a deciduous tree. Deciduous means it loses its leaves before winter. A poppy flower. That was the red one then. The red pieces are petals. And a coniferous tree. Coniferous means it makes pine cones. Most coniferous trees are evergreen. They keep their leaves all year round. I thought pine cones only came from pines. And fir cones came from firs, and each coniferous tree had its own kind of cone. But what do I know? Not as much as these people, it would seem. Well, I quite enjoyed which. You may notice most of the answers to the which questions were things, nouns, animals, but an animal is a noun. Now what's next? Pages 2 to 3 is where. And here we go. Oh, there's a double page. Here's 2 to 3. So there's going to be places, probably, most of the answers to these questions. Place is a kind of noun, but it's a more specific kind. Where do foxes go in the day? And here, that's quite nice. They're showing some foxes at night rummaging through some bins. And where do they go in the day? Back home, into their foxholes. Let's see. Oh, it's quite hard to read upside down. Adult foxes find a sheltered place to rest, but baby foxes hide with their mothers in snug dens. So that's cool. You learn the name for a fox's house. It's called a den, like a lion. That's nice. Yeah, learn a lot reading this kind of book. Where do butterflies lay their eggs? Well, they even learned something in the question. You might not have known that butterflies lay eggs if you didn't realise they were reptilian. They're not, though. Insects. They lay their eggs on or near the plant their babies will want to eat when they hatch. Ah, so you see, you're not just getting a noun, you're getting a noun with a preposition normally here. You know, in the den, on the plant, or near, on or near, that's 3 prepositions. Will want to eat when they hatch. The plant their babies want to eat. Oh, okay, but you have to make sure you don't lay them near the animal that will want to eat the eggs before the babies can hatch. And butterfly eggs hatch into little hungry caterpillars. That's nice. There's a bit of extra information. And it's these caterpillar babies that eat the leaves then. Which is in another book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Some viewers may be familiar with. Or readers of this book, even if they're not watching this video. Where are seeds made? That's a good question. And then they're showing a wide array of seeds there. Where are seeds made? In, I don't know, seed factories. Most seeds grow from flowers. You can find the seeds inside, that's your preposition, fruits, pods and berries. It's not just prepositions of place. I don't know if there's a special word for them. So ones you learn in like a specific lesson at school when you learn a foreign language. You have like a box and a mole positioning itself in relation to this box, in, on, left, near to, in between 2 boxes. And then some languages just that you have to learn the cases that these prepositions are associated with. Conifer trees make seeds inside their cones. Isn't that clever? Where can I find a tadpole? In a glass. In a quiet pond. In springtime, or in there is referring to the time, not the place. English is quite complicated like that. But it's in a quiet pond where there are no fish. And then it tells you why, in parentheses, it says fish eat tadpoles. So if it's a loud pond where there are fish, then there may have been tadpoles there very briefly, but they'll have been crumbled up. And then they show some spawn, and it says they start as little soft eggs. And then it says, always put tadpoles back in the pond where you found them. It's their home. Unless you see a load of fish there, I guess. Where you found them is referencing this girl here who's fished out some tadpoles to observe them in a jar. Sorry, I have to pause. Sorry for that momentary pause. Where were we? Where is rock made? So people standing on some rocks at the beach. Rock is made... I don't know, these are quite tricky questions. I don't know what the age group is. Under, that's a preposition for you, the sea, and under the ground. And that even gives you some more details. The rock on the surface is worn down by wind and water into tiny pieces. The tiny pieces become mud and sand. Eventually, they will squash together into rock again. It's a waste of time then. Mud, sand, dead plants, and dead animals are squished into rock over millions of years. Wow. What have we got now? Where can I pick wild berries? It's I, the reader. In the countryside, in mid to late summer. So there's another thing that tells you when and not just where. Hope when isn't upset about where. Moseying in on its territory. Look in hedges and on the sides of paths. Ask friends or family members who live nearby for top tips on where to look. And this is a good tip. Many berries are poisonous, so always check with a grown-up first. Though not all grown-ups know which berries are poisonous and which aren't. So you may end up eating fewer berries by checking. Where are you taking that nut? There they're talking to the squirrel. I'm going to find out what a squirrel's home is called here, if I can find the flap. There it is. Oh, and now the squirrel is talking to us. I'm going to bury it. I bury hundreds of nuts and seeds before the winter. It's another time. Not saying where though. I mean, there's a picture of them doing it like in a kind of lawn or garden. When there's nothing else to eat, I'll dig them up again if I can find them all. And there's a confused looking squirrel who's forgotten where they've buried the things. So they don't actually tell you where they're. Just bury it. I mean, obviously if you're burying something, it's normally in the ground, some kind of ground. But they haven't quite answered the question. Where are you taking that nut? And he's just told what he's going to do with the nut. But he hasn't actually answered. I mean, he wants to hide it from himself, so maybe that's why he's deliberately evading the question and not answering a where question properly. Then there's some sort of stalk, and they're asking where do birds build their nests. Well, stalks often on the top of telegraph poles and stuff, isn't it? In places that hunters can't reach. Now, it doesn't tell you if hunters means human hunters or predator animals. Like with the butterfly, I had to be careful that the eggs were not eaten. High up on a cliff is an example for what looks a bit like an eagle. On floating plants is what looks like a moorhen. Is that moorhen? No, I think that's a coot actually. Or in a tree for the woodpecker. So that's quite cool. So they tell you kind of the explanation for why they choose these places. It's kind of all the same sort of reason, so they're safe from, I guess, hunters. Does kind of mean predators here. Like not many people. I don't know if people hunt woodpeckers. Seems like a bit of an extravagant thing to do. I think they mean animals that would eat or steal the eggs, and animals that can't swim or clamber onto a floating nest, or in the tree because they're kind of hidden, or just really high up where other people can't get them. I must say, I am very impressed with this book. I think these are very good answers to questions, though it's going to be much more, normally an open-minded sort of person, but I'm very impressed. I think they're good answers. They give you context, give you explanations, and the pictures are great. I'll just read the last two wheres, I think that's enough for this one. I think we've got an excellent impression of it. Where do clouds come from? Well, what's it going to say? Where do they come from? Clouds grow in the sky when water droplets gather together. They often grow above the sea or over mountains. Well, where does something come from is a bit different. I mean, you could say that's not really a traditional where question, because you could almost phrase it, how are clouds formed? Like growing in the sky doesn't say where they're from, and where they're from is, yes, that's a non-traditional where question. It does tell you where they grow. They often grow above the sea or over mountains, but it's not really quite what's being asked. They really want to know where the water droplets have got. I was expecting something explaining a bit of the water cycle, at least a phase or two of it with evaporation or condensation. I mean, water droplets gather together, I guess is what they're going for there, but they Not telling you the whole process there, but that's really. Where are the biggest waves? Sorry, there was an accidental pause there. Hope you didn't miss too much. Where are the biggest waves? And then here's a bloke surfing, which is a clue that they're going to be on Bondi Beach, or somewhere famous for its surfing. San Sebastian, Spain, in the Basque country. On beaches, well, there you go. Next to big stretches of ocean. So that means I was right. Strong winds out at sea create big waves. The waves get even bigger as they travel and then break as they reach the coast. A wave breaking, you might not really know what that means if you're not an expert. And here's a little picture of a boat that says direction of wind, and you can see the waves are shaped in line with the direction of wind. Well, wonderful. I mean, the next one would be why. Questions such as, why do we need worms? But I won't tell you those answers. No, excellent book. Also, I may do more of that sort of book on this channel. Do put in the comments if you would like more of these. Something a bit different from a story. And yes, I should also point out that the material is very nice. It's a nice hard back, and the flaps were nice and fluffy. I mean, one of them is already a bit ripped, but that could be due to people not using it very carefully. You have to be a bit careful with these books, because sometimes, even though these answers are quite sophisticated, obviously it is very tempting, even for very small children, to rip and pull at the flaps because they see the nice pictures underneath, and then they may damage them. So you often need to use a bit of sellotape after a young child has interacted with a book like this. But there you go. Very good. As I say, let me know in the comments what you thought, and see you next time for another Mr. Bench's Book Reviews. Bye!